Alright guys, I know I've been promising you a matchup analysis tutorial video for quite some time now, so let's go ahead and jump into it, and hopefully by the time we're done you'll have a better understanding of what it is you're actually looking at and how to better utilize it on a week-to-week basis. So after sending out the matchups for week 0, one of the most important and popular questions was, how do I arrive at the top score generations? And the answer to that is the 26 players on each team, the 12 offensive, 12 defensive, and 2 special team players are all direct contributors to the overall score generation at the top of the page. So in the event that I have to put in a couple of reserves for Alabama, you'll see quickly that those the overall score generation drops, as well as the position ratings for each of those positions. So each one of these guys plays a role in both the overall score generation and their position rating. So I'll flip them back, and you'll quickly notice that not only did the overall score generation jump back to where it was, but also the position rating jumped back to where it was before as well. So this is kind of a nice to have, just a quick reference point. I can check and see, offensive line and defensive line comparisons, how they match up. Is there a big discrepancy or an advantage for either team? I like using it on each matchup just to kind of check some key places like that. Quarterback play, obviously, but whatever, depending on the matchup, you might check different things. A little less used is the offensive line, defensive line weight, as well as the DB height and wide receiver height. I think these are kind of nice to have just to check in case we have a bigger discrepancy or a big advantage for a certain team. Similar to that is the stats per game. It's really nice just to have a comparative view on both sides, side by side. You don't have to go hunting for 8, 9, 10 websites to determine who has an advantage for yards per game, points per game, tackles per loss. So each one of these sections are really just kind of a good area to compare the other side. What kind of matchup we should expect in each area. So you can use those how you'd like. The schedule portion is going to be more useful as the season goes on. You'll see in the next week column, you'll see teams that are in obvious look ahead, big game situations next week. You'll see teams that are coming off giant wins or bounce back situations where they obviously lost a game they shouldn't have. So the schedule situation will be something that you'll like to look at as the season goes on. And the final section that I want to discuss in this video is the snaps section. I use this more so in to determine what our fatigue level is for a certain team. So if we've played back-to-back weeks of 80+ snaps, I'm going to be more hesitant to bet on these teams. If they're not into that area, I don't really put much stock into fatigue. The college football game is not to the point where kids aren't used to playing 70 snaps. So if we start seeing 80 plus in back-to-back weeks, that's when I start getting worried. So that's something just to keep an eye on. It's really useful once the season gets going on back-to-back weeks. You can see what teams might be fatigued and which teams might not be. So the other areas were really betting related, so I'm going to make a second video and jump over to that if you'd like. I'll discuss the confidence ratings here, as well as the 16 overall systems over here as well. Y'all have a good one.